Welcome! In this video, we unravel the spiritual layers of 117, a number that carries profound prophetic significance in biblical tradition. Throughout Scripture, numbers aren't merely mathematical symbols, they're divine messages, each carrying layers of spiritual meaning that speak to God's perfect design. Today, we'll discover why 117 stands as a beacon of divine restoration, prophetic power, and spiritual completion. In biblical numerology, the number 1 represents God's absolute unity, His singular divine nature, and the power of new beginnings. It speaks of primacy, God as the first and the last, the Alpha and Omega, the source from which all creation flows. When we see the number 1 repeated, as in 117, it amplifies this message of divine primacy and purposeful intention. The number 7 represents completion, spiritual perfection, and God's finished work, seen throughout Scripture from creation to Revelation. 7 days of creation, 7 seals, 7 churches. This number consistently points to divine completeness and spiritual fulfillment. When combined with the double unity of 11, the number 117 becomes a powerful symbol of God's perfect restoration plan. Let's explore key scriptures at chapter 11, verse 7. In Genesis 11:7, God declares, "Come, let us go down and confuse their language." This verse reveals God's sovereign intervention when humanity attempts to reach heaven through their own efforts, showing His protective love. Here we see divine correction, not punishment, but redirection toward God's perfect plan for humanity's spiritual development. In Exodus 11:7, we read, "But among the children of Israel, not a dog shall move its tongue against man or beast." This powerful verse speaks of God's supernatural protection over His chosen people during the final plague in Egypt. The number 117 pattern here reveals God's protective power and His ability to distinguish and preserve His people in times of judgment. Now consider scriptures at chapter 1, verse 17. In Galatians 1:17, Paul declares, "I did not go up to Jerusalem to those who were apostles before me. Instead, Paul went to Arabia, showing how God sometimes calls us away from human wisdom to receive divine revelation directly." This verse at 117 positioning emphasizes the importance of receiving our calling and purpose directly from God, not from human institutions. According to Strong's Concordance, Hebrew H117 is ʼaddîr, meaning majestic, noble, and powerful, attributes that belong to God alone. This word describes God's overwhelming majesty and the noble character He desires to develop in His people through divine restoration. The Hebrew root speaks of excellence, dignity, and the royal nature that God imparts to those who walk in His purposes. Strong's Greek G117 is Athēnaios, meaning Athenian, representing the center of learning and wisdom in the ancient world. This connection suggests that 117 bridges human wisdom with divine revelation, showing God's desire to transform worldly knowledge into spiritual understanding. The juxtaposition of Hebrew majesty and Greek wisdom in 117 reveals God's comprehensive plan for both power and understanding. So there you have it. 117 is more than a number. It's a divine equation of restoration, power, and prophetic significance. When you encounter 117, remember it speaks of God's perfect unity, His completed work, and His majestic power working in your life. This prophetic number calls you to embrace divine restoration, walk in spiritual authority, and trust in God's perfect timing for your breakthrough. May the revelation of 117 bring you deeper into God's majestic purposes and His perfect plan of restoration for your life. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you abundantly.